Have you ever seen a successful real estate investor and thought, man, they're making so much money from their real estate, while I still need to figure out my step number one? Maybe it feels like there's this big gap from where you're at to where they're at. Well, if that's the case, you should remember one thing, that at some point in time, they were probably in the exact same position that you're at currently. So how did they cross that gap? This is what we'll go over today. Talking with over 100 real estate investors and being a millionaire in real estate investing myself, I can tell you that real estate investors who go from $0 to millionaire all have this one thing in common, which I will cover before we reach the end of this video. Hi, my name is Ryan Chaw, your friendly neighborhood real estate investor, and I show new investors how to get their first profitable investment property. Now, the first step to becoming successful in real estate is to define what success means to you. For a lot of people, success means being able to replace their W-2 income so that they can retire early and not worry about being laid off. My friend asked me just a few years ago, Ryan, why the heck do you want to retire early? You have such a great job. I told him, it all goes back to what happened just a couple years ago. Something happened that completely shifted how I now view my life decisions. One of my colleagues had finally retired at the age of 65 after working at our hospital for over 40 years. And then, just 3 months later, he died from a sudden, massive heart attack. Imagine him finally free from a job he hated so much, only to pass away immediately afterwards. All of the stress and health issues he had accumulated throughout those years, grinding away at his soul-draining job, led to a massive heart attack. What's even crazier, and hurts me to this day, is that just a few weeks after he passed, everyone at my work went on to business as usual, almost as if my colleague never even existed in the first place. After this experience, I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't make the same mistake of working my 9-to-5 job my whole life just to be forgotten soon after I left. I instead wanted to create a life worth living. Now, let's go over how you can replace your W-2 income with the income from your rental properties. The average middle-class income is $50,000 to $150,000 per year. So to replace your W-2 income adequately, let's just aim for a goal of making $100,000 per year in passive income from the real estate. Now, let's just say you buy a single rental. I'm going to show you how your total number of rentals and rental income doubles every 3 years automatically. I call this the doubling principle of real estate, which states that in general, real estate can double every 3 to 5 years. And I'll prove this principle with some cool math. Let's say that you only buy rentals that make at least $1,500 per month in cash flow, which I will show you how to do later in this video. $1,500 per month equates to $18,000 a year. After 3 years, this becomes $54,000. To recap, $1,500 a month times 12 months times 3 years is equivalent to $54,000. $54,000 is enough of a down payment to purchase a $270,000 house with a 20% down. So in year 4, you will use that $54,000 in cash to buy your second rental. This now makes your cash flow $36,000 a year, $18,000 a year for the first house and $18,000 a year for the second house. Another 3 years later, this cash flow now adds up to $108,000. To recap, you make $18,000 per rental times 2 rentals times 3 years, which means that you save up $108,000. $108,000 is enough to make 2 down payments, so that means in year 7 you have enough cash to buy another 2 rentals, to make a total of 4 rentals. 4 rentals times $18,000 a year per rental brings in $72,000 a year, which after 3 years is $216,000. So in year 10, this is enough to double your rentals again to make 8 rentals total, which brings in $144,000 a year. Congratulations, that's how you completely replace your W-2 income by focusing on just getting 1 rental in the first year and taking advantage of the doubling principle. Now, there's a second way that you can have this doubling effect. Let's say that you don't make a whole lot of cash flow on your first investment property. Well, there is still this thing called appreciation. Appreciation is the increase in the property price over time. If you buy in a market with good appreciation, let's say 4%, then that means you double your money every 5 years. Let me explain. You are typically required to put a 20% down payment on the property. If that property goes up 4% every year for 5 years, that means it went up 20% in 5 years. Now, here's the cool part. Since you put 20% down on the property and the property itself went up 20%, that means that you literally doubled your money. As you can see in this diagram, if you put a $60,000 down payment on a $300,000 property and the property went up $60,000, you now have $120,000, which is double of what you started with. And by extension, you also double the number of rentals that you can buy. For instance, you can take out money from the appreciation on the first property by using a HELOC or a cash out refinance to go and buy the second rental. This is exactly what I did. I took out a $100,000 HELOC to buy my fourth and fifth properties when I was building up my rental portfolio. Basically, as you can see from this chart, from appreciation, you're able to double your money and rentals every 5 years. Let's say you only buy one rental in year 1. By year 6, you can double that to 2 rentals. This doubles again by year 11 for a total of 4 rentals. And finally, it doubles once again at year 16 for a total of 8 rentals. This brings us to 2 basic laws of the doubling principle. Law number 1 states that if your net cash flow per property is $1,500 per month or more, and you're buying $270,000 rentals, then you will double your money and rentals every 3 to 4 years. Law number 2 states that if your appreciation in the housing market you're in is at least 4% or greater, then you will double your money and properties every 5 years. Now, let's talk about saving for your first investment property. After all, once you get the first one, it can follow the doubling principle to become 8 properties. Saving for that first property may sound tricky, but it's actually not that complicated. Plus, think about all the emotions that you will feel after buying your first property. I remember after I bought my first rental, I felt extremely proud of my accomplishment because I physically got to see the fruits of my labor. To be an owner of something and have something that I can physically visit and call mine. It's an amazing feeling, let me tell you. For me, I had worked 2 jobs and a lot of overtime to buy 1 property per year, which got me to 5 rentals by the age of 28. Let's say you make $25 per hour at a W-2 job and work 6 days a week. $25 an hour times 48 hours a week times 4 weeks per month means that you make $4,800 per month, which is about $4,000 after taxes. Next, we subtract out $500 per month for food, $200 per month for gas, and let's say you stay at a friend's house or live with your parents or a sibling and you only rent out a room. This way you only pay $500 a month for rent. So you take your $4,000 in after-tax income, subtract out your $500 for food, $200 for gas, and $500 for rent. That leaves you with $2,800 per month as your net income. Now, to buy your first house, I recommend saving at least $60,000. If we take $60,000 and divide it by the $2,800 per month, that means it takes 21 months or 1.75 years for you to start from zero and save up for your first rental property, even if you're making $25 an hour. That first rental property will then follow the laws of doubling. Now, you might be thinking at this point, Ryan, this sounds great, but how can I make $1,500 per month in cash flow on each investment property? Well, for this one, you can take a page out of my book. I rent by the bedroom to college students to maximize my cash flow. I bought my first out-of-state property, as you can see here, for $210,000. The mortgage was $1,190 per month, and I converted the house into a 6-bedroom home and charged $625 per bedroom. This made my rental income $3,750 per month. To recap, that's $625 per bedroom times 6 bedrooms, which equals $3,750 per month for your rental income. Next, I subtract out my mortgage of $1,190 per month to give me a cash flow of $2,560 per month. Finally, to be safe, I also set aside $300 per month for miscellaneous expenses, so I'll subtract that from my $2,560 per month to give me $2,260 per month as my net cash flow after expenses. This was very much over the $1,500 per month I needed to hit the doubling principle. And that's why renting per bedroom is one of the best ways that you can use to accelerate building your rental portfolio. Now, if owning 5 to 8 rentals still seems very far away for you, then I recommend just following one rule, and that is to set a goal of buying one property per year. This goal makes things feel really simple for you and is exactly what I did to eventually replace my full-time pharmacist salary. Hopefully, it inspires you to take charge of your life and build financial freedom for yourself so that you're in control of your own destiny and make money work for you rather than always having to work for money. Because nobody wants to be a slave for money. So by now, did you figure out what millionaire real estate investors have in common? Don't worry if you're still guessing, I'll go ahead and give you the answer now. And that is, what they all have in common is financial literacy. Essentially, understanding the math behind what makes an investment profitable or not, which we just covered in this video with the laws of doubling and the rent by the bedroom niche. So lucky you, you have a head start. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your friends so that it can reach more people who are really struggling with getting started in real estate investing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.